do as a practical politician? If at the end of your career, may it be long delayed, but if a quarter of a century from now, when you're all done with government and journalism, and you look back and say, we didn't make a dent in it, in this huge calcified edifice, we couldn't change it, you'd not be happy with that. What's to be done?
Well, that was always at the heart of Roger's thinking when he was engaging with politics. I'd say three things. The first thing is, what is the intellectual wellspring of the assault on our cultures, our traditions, and so many of the principles that would have been regarded as common sense for most of the past 2 millennia. The best guide to this is Roger's book, Thinkers of the New Left, which has been republished as Fools, Frauds and Firebrands. It makes the point that essentially the thinkers of the radical left recognized that one of the reasons why their message wasn't working is that people, particularly those who weren't themselves intellectual, were attached to home, that they had feelings of affection for tradition, and that these needed to be undermined, and the intellectual erosion of those feelings was the work of the Derridas, the Foucaults, the Lacans, and others, and those who came after them, and who were influenced by them. So the first thing is, if you're going to engage in this struggle, you need to know what is motivating and what the arguments are of those people in order to be able to take them on, as Roger did brilliantly. Right. The second thing is, you make a very, very, very good point about the majority in most countries, certainly in Britain. Maurice Glassman's made the point, which I think is right, that the working class have saved this country at least twice in the last 100 years. It was the sacrifice of the Second World War, but also the fact that at a time when appeasement was bewitching the minds of some, it was actually both within the Labour Party, but also within a section of the Conservative Party, that people knew that we needed to take a different course, and the amazing courage that people exhibited then was, a courage from below, and it was the same with Brexit. And this brings me back to a final point, which is democracy is our ally. One of the points, again, that Maurice has made and others have made is that people with the cool people that you mentioned, with cred and credentials, with cultural inroads, they get their prime spots on TV. They're on the op-ed pages, at the cocktail parties where you get to mingle with power brokers. There they are. But ultimately, they only have one vote. And the guy in Pittsburgh or the woman in Gateshead also has one vote. And this is why, if you have the common sense of the people enabled through democracy, you can have that necessary course correction. And that was one of the things about Brexit. In the same way as in any given congressional district or any given parliamentary constituency in the UK, you might think this is safely red or safely blue. When we had that referendum, everyone knew that their one vote counted, and it didn't matter how red or blue their area was. The vote of that lady in Gateshead was going to count just as much as the vote of Lord Peter Mandelson. And that was the way in which you had that course correction, and people thought, look, I'm not going to be bamboozled by all of these arguments about the EU, and I don't need to worry that people are going to think that I'm some sort of rube or oik. I can just see through this, and I'm going to vote for my country to be more accountable to me.